So hey, I wanted to talk about something. I keep forgetting I have to look down, which is kind of odd. I'm used to looking that way. So abortion. I think I want to turn it this way. Okay, so that's weird. Anyway, okay, so I hate that you have to look down. I don't want to look this way. I'm still getting used to doing videos on YouTube, so you gotta excuse me. Um, get that light out my peripheral. Okay, so here we go. So anywho, abortion. So there's a lot of talk about abortion and women's right, like women's rights, and there's you know several sides of the issue. I just question. First of all, my personal beliefs are that I could never have an abortion unless it was something that was life threatening. Like medical or something to where the child has some abnormalities or that I feel like would diminish that child's life and how they live and mobility and things like that, or rape or something like that. So I don't personally believe that someone should be having abortions at 20 weeks unless again it's something where it's like, oh, we just found this, and you have like a three-headed hybrid sheep baby or something, you know what I'm saying? So I don't believe, I think that because I've had children that you kind of figure out, by 6 weeks you should figure out if you want that child or not, because I mean, it's easy to tell, by your circumstances, your living situation, your personal finances, where you at in life. It's, that, at that time. And if you can, I mean, it's very, to me, it's very simple. Okay. You should not be having abortions at 20 weeks. That just doesn't make any sense unless it's something like extenuating circumstances. With that being said, I'm not going to go to the full out extent as to, marching and doing all this other stuff as far as, voting for laws, strict abortion laws and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, I don't understand why people are worried about other people's vaginas. I see a lot of red and conservatives and all these other people that you know abortions is wrong, that just really driving this home, and they're trying to take away the humans right to procreate, and then in the future they're going to have it where only selected people will be able to procreate, or it might be just test tube babies, and that's the future. Da, 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 da. Okay, well, that may be true, it may be true, but still it does not give you the right. I feel like this: if you do not do foster care, mind your business. Don't worry about another person's vagina. If you do not adopt, don't worry about somebody else's vagina. You know you have family members that are a little off, or you feel like they're a little bit harsh on their children, but you stay out of it because it's got nothing to do with your home, or the fact that, okay, you might be struggling or whatever, you don't want the headache or whatever. Mind your business. Do you know how many kids is in foster care right now? And let's just because I'm just going to work with my, I'm just talking to people of color right now that are you know all gung ho on this whole abortion issue, and the from the hoteps to the conservatives talking about killing our future and blah 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 blah. You know what? Hey, half y'all have family members that are struggling. Those kids are being put in environments that are not healthy, growing up too fast, or drugs, or just poor, living poor, not very well, educated, don't have the resources. You know, Some of their kids getting taken away. People got mental health issues, and they're not dealing with them. And again, I'm just talking right now. I'm trying to talk to people of color that have, want to get up and make videos about other people's vaginas. Okay, from that to, it's a large populace out here that aren't taking care of their children. Especially when I hear men talk about this, you're not taking care of your children. Half of you, well, I won't say half, but there is a percentage. I don't know the numbers right off my top of my head, but there is a significant amount. And some of you that are talking shouldn't even be talking anyway, because you're not taking care of all your kids to the fullest that you should be and involved. And I'm not talking about just child support, you know what I'm saying? So I just feel like, do there's a lot of African American kids that are in foster care. Once you hit a certain age, like 10, 11, 12, 13, it's harder to get into a foster home, and they stay in group homes. Okay. If you are a boy, you have a harder time getting into a home. I mean, if you're like a little boy, yes, but if you're a black boy, it's even harder to get put into a home. There's not a lot of African American in comparison to white folks that are doing foster care or adopting. Okay. A lot of times our, children of color in general, when they get into foster care, they are, it's not what it's cracked up to be, or how it's advertised or publicized to be. Okay. I know this for a fact. Okay. Via my own personal experiences, and also talking and being for the last, I don't know, 30 years, or well, almost 30 years of being in contact with people, male and females, who have been in the system to some form or another. Okay. A lot of foster kids that are of color, a lot of them end up, in juvie, or they end up as adults committing crimes or addicted to drugs and things of that nature, because a lot of times they're just pulling these kids from homes, okay, and they're not getting the help that they need, or they're not, when they're ready to go out into the world, they're not getting the resources that they need in order to be productive citizens. They just, when they're 18, it's done, because the foster parent doesn't get any money for them anymore. And so I'm just saying, giving you some real information as to why you just need to mind your fucking business. Okay, stop worrying about other people's vagina, because at the end of the day, y'all talk about people's kids, and you talk about how people unruly, and then you see kids and they don't know how to act and behave, and then you complain, especially white folks want to complain about people being on welfare and shit like that, and using the fucking system. Why you can't have it both ways? You either mad, or you feel like people shouldn't have children if they can't afford them. Then why the fuck are you worried about her vagina? Especially them people's vagina, what they do with their vajayjay, if they have an abortion or not. I mean, wouldn't that be what you want, per what you talk about? People shouldn't have children that they can't afford, and they, using welfare and food stamps, and sitting up eating shrimps and steaks and stuff off of $600 for food stamps that you wish you could have had $600 food, blah, 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 blah. Okay, then, there's people that are out here that are not, that aren't, they're choosing to do what they're supposed to do, which is, they know that they can't afford it, or it's not the good time, or what have you, and so that's what they're doing. So I just really wish that if you are, like I said, if you're not doing foster care, then you don't have an opinion. You shouldn't have an opinion. If you don't adopt, then you shouldn't have an opinion. If you're somebody that always harping on people using the system and bad kids, and how you think certain demographics, or certain income brackets, or certain peoples or races and ethnicities, kids are this and that and the third. If you devalue certain ethnicities' children in comparison to your own children of the same age, meaning that you don't see, you look at a 8-year-old white boy differently than you look at an 8-year-old black boy, then you just need to shut the fuck up and sit down. Worry about your own sperm and the vagina and what you stick it in. That's it. That's it. Um, because I'm just really noticing like people don't know how to mind their business. You know, like I said in the beginning of this, I know that I have personally certain things that I won't do, and I feel like, but I can't. I'm not going to take care of nobody else's kid. I'm not fin to help nobody. If I'm talking, I can't be talking about here talking sitting up here talking about ridiculing a woman for going to getting an abortion when I'm not going to tell. I'm not going to help her with that child. So what I look like saying, no, bitch, you shouldn't be having no abortion. You, well, you should have thought about it. Now you should have that baby. And then she turned around, she can't afford the baby. Then I want to complain about her being on welfare and using resources or her abusing the baby, want to snatch the baby. You know what I mean? Looking at her, judging her as being bad and being a bad parent. See how that works? You can't have it both ways. So unless, like I said, the only people that should be having a say on the topic should be people who in some way have experienced foster care, done foster care, adopted, um, mental health workers, social workers. Those are the people that should really be the ones sitting up here talking, not you. Oh, and like I said, even though regardless of what the future may hold, and that may be what they are doing, but the end game, which is depopulation and what have you. So what it's and that's going to happen regardless because you stop it in one way. They got chemicals, they got frequencies that'll make people go crazy. They got all types of warfare things. They can they have different energies and radiations and things like that that can sterilize us without us even knowing. Okay. So while you talking about this is going to have, you're fighting. The time to fight against what's happening or what's going to come is and to actually curb it and stop it is long gone. Okay, you're not gonna stop it. You just, it's like water seeping in everywhere, and you're trying to plug one hole here and a hole here. Water seeping everywhere. That's how it is. You think they're gonna use one way, and we already know, vaccinations and things like that. As far as, and still on the topic of, these people that think that, oh, okay, they're trying to control the population, depopulation by, promoting abortions and blah blah blah. Okay, well, the food's doing it. The food, the chemicals in our foods, the things that we use on a daily basis, shampoos, unregulated fragrances, the industrial waste that they pollute the air with. If you live in around industrial areas, freeways, there's a lot of things, ways that they're attacking it on all fronts, and resistance by is futile. There's no way to stop it at this point. It's just not you're not going to stop it. And I know people are going to still do, try, but there's no way to stop it. Even if you do get it, okay, well, can't nobody have an abortion, which I think is very stupid. Because what you're going to end up doing is you're going to increase the black market, because why? People are going to still fucking do it. Okay? People are going to do it, and you're going to just breed more black market dealings with, just like with everything that people really want to partake in some fashion, and then it be outlawed, whether it was abolition back in the, when it was the abolitions, and the alcohol ban and all that, to people have, certain people only have guns and things like that, drugs. When have laws stopped shit from happening? So you're just, in this whole blanket, it just can't, nobody should. So, even if you were raped, you know what? And that's another thing that pisses me off about it. I wish a man could be raped in his anus and then get impregnated. Raped in his anus against his will, then get impregnated, and then you come back and say, "Oh, well, I don't even think if right because the child is not the child's fault." Okay, have a man force themselves on you. How about that? What if a man forced themselves on you and you were to have a baby? You were capable, your species, as a male, you were capable of having a baby, and then you get pregnant. Some of you that are on that whole don't matter even if it's rape. Some of y'all was touched on as a kid, or you done been to prison and you was the weakest link. All in all, in general, I'm just saying you was in situations where you was taken fast. But before you talk about sit up and talk about can't no just even in rape, you serious? That's pure ignorance. And that comes from a place of a collective of humans that males that have had pretty much collectively had the privilege of not ever experiencing someone taking them fast in a sexual manner, overpowering them and taking them fast, okay, or molesting them. That's still an issue that's in our country. Child molestation, that's a whole quiet issue that is being, if you start looking at, some of the things that we do as a nation and some of the things we partake in, our nation, our society actually condones that pedophilia shit in some ways. And maybe if I remember, I'll circle back to that, to some of the examples of how we willingly indulge in that shit and I don't even think about it. So yeah, so take your fast. These kids being molested, that's something that we don't even we haven't dealt with that. How about we deal with one issue at a time, to start with some other things, clean some other things up. Why, let's deal with the pedophilia, okay? Not just in the secret societies and in government and in music and entertainment. No, right in our fucking households. Some of you preaching about, oh, even if it was rape and da 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 da, or child molestation, the child should still have the baby and da da da. You walking around here touching and putting your fingers in your daughters and your nieces and your nephews, or your neighbor's kid, or your student, your pupil, or someone of the church in the church. You little nasty bastards. And then you want them to have your and then we'll have the nerve to look at like some of these other countries in like Saudi Arabia. Well, I want to say Saudi Arabia, but over in other nations and like in the Middle East and stuff, that be taking 10-year-olds as wives and stuff. You want to stick your nose up at them. And if, every time the news hits, as far as like they talk about how they be taking young ass brides, 40, 50-year-old men taking 9, 10, 11-year-old brides, and, having babies by, 11, 12-year-olds and shit like that. You thumb your nose up at them motherfuckers, but you sit up and want to have the legislation where it don't matter even if a child is molested. 14, 11, whatever, it don't matter that little girl has to have that baby, or rape, that little girl has to have that baby. Are you insane? We are so hypocritical in our thinking. See, and we partake in it. Let me give you some examples. Okay, there is in pornography. Pornography has many genres, but the one that subconsciously and covertly, I would say, perpetuates and encourages pedophilia is the barely legal genre. Now, the barely legal genre is when they take women that are 18 or legal age, whatever, in that state, and who look younger, who look 14 and 15 years old, and have them perform sexual fantasies, because that's what porn is. Porn is our genres of sexual fantasies, things that arouse people sexually. sexually stimulating. So they take this 18-year-old that looks 14, dresses her up in a school girl uniform. Again, dresses her up in a school girl uniform and creates this scene, and then they have this whole sexual act and things like that that is played out on this film. And it's a lot of money. It's a very high, that particular genre is grossing billions. Okay. And then you have Halloween costumes and little sexual fantasy lingerie that with this old schoolgirl thing or Catholic girl thing. And women with they dumbass put that shit on for a man. So I've never done that. But you mean to tell me that you want me to put this is what I would say, but like in my mind for a man that would want me to do. So you mean to tell me you want me to put this schoolgirl outfit on so you can get sexualized? So you like schoolgirls is what you're saying. You like barely okay. You like the barely legal. You like schoolgirls arouse you. There's no motherfucking way. And that's just one way, or actually I just named two ways in which we condone that pedophilia. We subliminals and subconsciously, and we don't. And I bet anyone that hears this and it hears it broken down, if you're guilty of it, meaning that you've either worn that bullshit or you have watched those types of videos and things like that, you half of you are going to go damn, and the other half are going to defend it. Everything that is accepted as normal or accepted that's legal may not be moral. And very simply put, school girls. What is a schoolgirl? A child that is in school, not a college girl. Okay? A school girl that is either, those schoolgirl uniforms, they go to those little, they have a school or magnet school or Catholic school that they have to have uniforms. And that actually, in actuality, is, from, that could be from kindergarten all the way up to, seniors. But a lot of times, like I said, the girls look 14 and make them put pigtails in their hair. Okay. By the time you're 16 and stuff like that, which is 16 is I think in not Arizona, one of them states where it's legal. The 16-year-olds ain't wearing pigtails. Like not normally. That's because they're grown out of that. Pigtails is for little girls. You know what I'm saying? Like 10, 11, maybe junior high, because they start to get out of that. They want to do like more somewhat grown up or a little mature type of hairstyles and things like that. Pigtails, and some of them, yeah, really. So in closing, I want to recap. What a woman does with her vagina is none of your goddamn business. And if you're not finna, sit up and take care of kids that these kids that out here that are already in need, then shut the fuck up, and sit down and stop complaining or worrying about what somebody else do with their damn vagina. Because forcing people to have children is not going to do nothing for the children. You have children that are born, but under what conditions? Resentment, and resentment becomes, if a person is made to have a kid that they don't fucking want. Do you understand? I bet none of you have ever stopped to think about that. I mean, I know how that feels. Okay? Have you ever thought about how that child would feel? And because there's children still on this earth that have dealt with that and are grown, and there's still, kids that are growing up where they are in, being born and didn't, and they know that in so many ways that their mothers and or fathers resent them, especially your mothers resent having them, and so then they treat them a certain way, not like the other kids, or what I'm saying, the resentment, they be funny towards them, they treat them differently, some neglect them, some abuse them, some, so, but all for the sake of just having a body, a child born into the world. Are you serious? Under what? But then under duress, and you don't, all types of things you're setting the child up to endure, which you're not going to care about, because it's not, once that child is born, you don't care. You don't care. You're not donating to psychiatric services and child services. You're not out here trying to be foster parents, adoption parents, social workers, psychiatric workers. You resource people who can help with resources. You're not, you a lot of you want resources that are already here to be taken away, to help families that are in need, that may not, mental health services, all that stuff, not just welfare. How dare you? Mind your fucking business. Stop worrying about somebody else's damn vagina, knowing damn well you're not finna take care of that woman's kids. You don't give a damn about them kids. Once them kids are born, only thing you care about, uh, uh, you should be made to have a child, but you're not going to follow up with how that child is going to exist. You don't care. Then you turn around and say, "Well, it's not my fault. You had the child, and you shouldn't have children." If the, come on, man, y'all motherfuckers is full of shit. And I bet not see that damn black person. I've seen it. This is why I'm writing. I'm doing this video, but it just sickens me when I see them talking about this bullshit, talking about how women should, what the fuck a woman should do with her goddamn vagina. And especially when some of you don't even take care of all your kids, okay, in the way in which they should be. Let alone the fact that you don't give a damn about these children. You don't do foster care. You don't adopt. You don't do all these things. You're not a psychiatric worker. You don't work with children, mental health services. You don't do none of this shit. Fuck out of here with that stupid shit.